Hello everyone and welcome to the inaugural video for the Grand Life Adventure Outdoor Living. We're out here today fixing to do a little bit of bushcrafting where I'm going to be teaching Junior and Logo a little bit about wildlife living. I'm going to teach them how to find and eat local edible plants, as well as teach them how to set up their own temporary shelter, how to build it, and how to set themselves up a fire so that they can survive and thrive in the wild. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. All right, what we're doing right now is we're just cleaning out an area for us to be able to set up a fire. And that fire is going to go right here in the middle of the camp. I'm probably going to set up a hammock right over here. I'm not really going to be that close to the fire, but I'm going to have the boys a little bit closer to it so that they can be nice and warm tonight. Another thing that moving these leaves out does for us is it gives us a little bit more visibility when it comes to snakes that might try to climb up into our camp area. It allows for us to be able to physically see it just a little bit faster and easier, so that we're not accidentally stepping on, say, a copperhead, which is very common in this area. So we just got done clearing out the area of which we're going to have our fire, as well as where we're going to be setting up a small shelter for these guys. Now boys, what I need from you guys now, I need you to find the small twigs that snap off really easy, super dry tinder, okay? And I'm also going to need you guys to pick up some dry sticks, some small ones about the size of your finger, and then gradually more and more, bigger and bigger, so that we can get a fire started. And so that we can keep the fire going later, we're going to have to go and find ourselves some good dry logs, okay?
Okay.
So that's your first step, is going and find us some tinder and some kindling. Go for it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and start taking some of these older dead trees for me to be able to build a platform to get them up off the ground tonight. So not long ago, Banana found out that I was gonna have to get myself a hatchet. Well, I have one in my shopping cart that I was gonna buy because I didn't have one. And she was like, no, wait, we have one. So I was like, where? She said, it's out back. I know we don't. I've never had a hatchet back there. She said, yes, you have. And then she brought me this guy. And it was super rusty and it had all kinds of dents and dings in the edge. So what I did is I just took some sandpaper, cleaned it off really good, and put a really nice edge on it. This thing will shave you now. So I'm gonna give this thing a shot, see how well she handles. It looks like she handles pretty good. Now all of these dead hanging branches, what we like to call widowmakers, they're all really dry, so they make really good firewood. You don't have to worry about if they're going to be wet as long as they're hanging up in the canopy. For the most part, if it hasn't rained in a couple days, this stuff is going to be dry as a bone. All right, found this awesome tree sitting up over there. This thing was still standing completely dead. Now I can reserve my blade's edge and my own energy just by breaking this down into small pieces. And the best way to do that is to find a tree that crosses over just like this, put it in, find the size that I want, and I can break it down into smaller pieces. The beauty is the fact that all this bark that comes off of this is super dry, and I can use that to help make a tinder bundle. All right, so this is that piece of dead wood. And as you can see, all this bark is just kind of stripping right off of it. And you can also see all those little fibers that are coming off of it. Those will catch a spark really, really well. Now, naturally, I brought a lighter with me because I'm doing survival. In a real survival situation, I promise you I'm gonna have a lighter. But for the sake of the video, I'm gonna use ferrocerium rod. But look at all this bark. And every last bit of this bark can break down into hundreds of little dry fibers. You can see dust coming off of this. That's how dry this is. And all I gotta do is just tear this up, just like so. I can make a really great little bundle. All I gotta do is just break up those fibers just by twisting it like so. And look at all that extra area to be able to take a spark. So now that I have that broken up quite a bit, I'm gonna bundle it, and I'm just gonna keep on breaking those fibers up smaller and smaller. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring this into a bit of a bird's nest so that whenever I go to start this fire, all I got to do is have my bundle ready. I can put my small bits of tinder in here as well as my spark and blow it into flame once I have the ember in. I did beforehand make a little bit of char cloth, so I'll kind of explain that to you guys a little bit too. And one of these videos in the near future, I'll show you how to make some char cloth. But for now, this is going to go with the rest of my tinder. On this green bandana, we have our fire starting set. So we have our bundle, our tinder bundle. We have some small sticks and twigs for tinder, as well as some of this extra bark that I stripped off of that. We know that it's nice and dry, so we know that it'll catch up really fast. And once we use up this for our initial fire, at that point, we'll start moving to some slightly bigger sticks that we know for sure are dry. And then from there, we'll start feeding the larger stuff that we find. This paracord has a tensile strength of about 1,100 pounds. We want that loop right there at the end. We're gonna hook to a tree. You're gonna wrap it around about eye level. Okay. Once we have that, we want to find ourselves a stick, any kind of stick, green, dead, whatever, as long as it's not rotten. And we're just gonna push that through. Once we have it in, all we gotta do is just roll it, and that'll kind of cinch it down a little bit. All right, so what I'm gonna do, make myself a real easy trucker's hitch. All I'm going to do, pull this line through. We're going to wrap this around and through so that we have a quick release. I'm going to pinch here so I don't lose any of my slack, and then pull tight. That way this stays nice and tight. Then all I got to do later is just pull this in here, and the whole thing will come down. With the rest of this line here, I'm just going to pinch it. I'm going to make little figure eights around my hand so that I can kind of have a nice and neat little bundle, and I can put it up and out of the way without any issues. All I gotta do is wrap it around here, just like so, and then just tuck it right here. And that's not going anywhere. All right, next thing up, I have a little hammock here that I'm gonna string up to make life just a little bit easier. There we go. Now we're gonna need a little bit of paracord to wrap this around these trees. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of the excess that I have over here, go ahead and cut it off. That way I can pull this thing nice and tight. That should be good to go. The knife that I'm going to be using today is this titanium coated HX Outdoors knife that Joe Teddy gave me. Joe being a good friend of mine. This is a titanium coated 440 stainless steel knife. And it's pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of this because it doesn't really feel all that comfortable, especially whenever I'm going to scrape some ferrocerium rods or whatever the case is. But all in all, it's a pretty sharp knife, really nice. 2, 3. We're going to come through the loop again here and then back through here. All right, we'll tighten that down, and now I can tighten. To be very specific, I weigh about 270 pounds. My butt right now is about 8 to 10 inches off the ground right now, and that's exactly where I want to be, if not just a little bit shorter than where I'm at. What that does is that allows for me to be able to reach my boots so that I can take my boots off and I can put them back on fairly easily. And if I need to make a quick, fast, and easy run to go help the boys in the middle of the night, I'll be able to do that without having to worry about stumbling too far. Another reason that we want to do this is because if something fails on one of these lines that's holding me up, only put yourself up off the ground as far as you're willing to fall. And me being a big guy, I'm not really willing to fall that far. With this and my blanket, I shouldn't have an issue with staying warm tonight. This right here, by the way, I'm just going to roll out underneath my sleeping bag to kind of protect me a little bit from convection.
That's a fabric. That's a fabric.
Ow. Ow. All right, so I will show you guys how I did this in the next video, but what I did is I made myself a nice little fire bundle using this right here, and then I used the ferrocerium rod and the butt of my blade to start a fire, and that's what we're kind of working on right now. We got ourselves a fire going. I'll show you guys in a future video exactly how I did that, but I thought I had hit record for this one, but undoubtedly I had not. What we're doing right now is we're just kind of trying to build up a bed of coals so that we can kind of start focusing on moving the fire a little bit, but so that it's kind of centered on their bed over there. But I really kind of want to make sure that we're ready to go for dinner later on. All right, so I got a lot of D-rings, and the reason I have these D-rings is they come in handy for a lot of different things. Specifically, what I'm fixing to do, one of them I'm going to use to go ahead and clip on here because my bag is not exactly light. I'm gonna bring it over here to this string that I tied up in the tree here. I'm just gonna clamp it here, use this D-ring here, just like this. I'm gonna hold it just like so and clamp this on. And now this will keep snakes and bugs and stuff from getting inside of my bag. So I could take from the stagnant water that's just kind of sitting here, but there's some fresh running water over here that I want to get. Lots of nice fresh water for us to be able to put over the fire. This has been a nice little eye-opener for these guys. We've already burnt through a good portion of this, and it's only been about 2 hours since we've started the fire. And I tried to tell them that you're going to go through a lot of wood whenever you have a fire. They didn't want to believe me, and now they're starting to see exactly how important it is to gather a bunch of wood. What I've done is I have went ahead and put up an emergency blanket right behind their bed here so that the heat will reflect any bit of heat that's coming off of here. So that should help them a little bit with staying warm. Their upper bodies are going to be more towards the middle of the bed here. As it stands, we've boiled that water, and we're just kind of letting it cool down now so that they can fill up their Gatorade bottles. And then I'm going to send this one down to get a little bit more water in there, same way we did last time. And I'm going to go ahead and see about making some dinner. I think it's time for a little bit of tea. And I was smart enough to bring a couple of vacuum seal bags. Well, this wasn't, I didn't vacuum it, but I got some English breakfast, some Earl Grey, and some Darjeeling. So I think I'm going to go with the English breakfast. And as you use them, all you have to do is cut off the one that you want, unless the one that you want was in the middle. And then from there, you just take it out. Our water's still nice and hot. All right, and we just take our tea and we throw our paper straight into the fire. And you have tea. It would be unwise for me to have brought tea out without having brought some sugar as well. And I also have some coffee so that in the morning I can make myself some fresh coffee and I'll have enough for each serving. We'll just we'll cut off the corner for the one that we want, and we'll just pour in the sugar. And then you just cut off the excess. Save the rest for later. Oh, it smells so good. The longer that you let it steep in your cup, the stronger it's going to be. So I'm going to let mine steep for quite a little bit because I put a little bit of extra water in there and I want this to be nice and strong. You see this? This is called a stick. Insta stir. It's crazy how we lose touch with the simple things in life. We can just stir our sugar into our tea utilizing the power of a stick. The greatest thing about this is it's recyclable. I can use this also as one of 2 chopsticks if I wanted to, or I can also use it for firewood. It's crazy. That's beautiful. That is a good tea. I highly recommend bringing some coffee and tea out on any trip that you go on, if for nothing else, just a good warm morale builder. But if you enjoy tea, then why not have some? All right, so another thing that I wanted to be able to show you just real quick on the uses of your shamak. We have some water that hasn't necessarily been purified just yet, so what I'm gonna do is there's a couple of little floaty pieces and stuff in there, and we still need to boil it so that we can use it, and we're gonna use this to make our dinner tonight. But I don't want a bunch of sand and dirt in my food, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first of all use my shamak to get rid of any dirt that might be inside of here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open it up just to one side here. I'm gonna put it over the top of my water kettle here where I'm actually going to do my cooking. And then I'm gonna take the water and pour it through the shamak. The shamak will effectively filter out all of those big particles that we don't want in our food. Now, the water that's in my pot is nice and clean, and all I have to do now is boil it, put in my food, which I'm gonna be showing you here shortly, what we're gonna be having for dinner tonight, and we'll be good to go. So make sure that if you filter through your shamak and you get some water in it, make sure that you hang it up so that it can kind of dry out. That way, if, say for instance, I wanna use it as a scarf tonight to help keep me warm, I'll be able to have a nice dry shamak and don't have to worry about freezing my booty off because I have a wet shamak. Tonight we're going to be eating some of these pasta sides from Knorr. We got the cheesy cheddar and the cheddar and broccoli. We're gonna just put them in together and make them both in the same pot and then stir it all up and serve it out to the kids and myself. One of the simplest things that is one of the easiest to forget is to have a simple first aid kit. Now right now I actually have a headache and it's been bothering me for probably about a good half an hour. I've been trying to see if maybe just having a little bit of extra water might make it go away, and being that it hasn't, I'm gonna dig into my reserve here. These things are fantastic. They have everything from tweezers to antiseptic towels. They have bandages, band-aids, I mean, you name it, they have it. But a lot of times these things will also have something great in it, aspirin. So I'm gonna see if mine has aspirin in it. Oh, that's really cool. So this is something I did not know that this particular emergency kit comes with, and it's a little compass. Perfect. So in my kit here, I have this acetaminophen pack. Now, typically I wouldn't want to take acetaminophen simply because of the fact that I am currently having to take other pain medications. So I would want to try and steer more towards aspirin, which, lo and behold, we have not just acetaminophen, but we also have ibuprofen. Ibuprofen? Yeah. We have ibuprofen and aspirin. So if you are allergic to something or whatever the case is, there's always the opportunity for you to have something different that you can have in these little kits. That's why they're so great to have. If you've got nothing else in your survival pack, a good first aid kit is an absolute must. Make sure that you bring one. Doesn't matter who it's by, just make sure that it has things that are relevant to you. It is about 5:30 in the evening, we're fixing to go ahead and start making ourselves some dinner. Got the boys a little bit of extra water for them to be able to have for the night. I'm gonna make some dinner, and then I'm gonna purify a little bit more water so that we can have some more water to drink in the morning, and so I can have a little bit of coffee for in the morning. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start making our dinner. We're just gonna pour this straight into the hot water. All right, there we go. So we got that in there, and now we can just take like a stick or something, stir that up, put it back right next to the fire so it can stay nice and hot. And in about 25 minutes, we should have ourselves a nice dinner. We're gonna keep the lid open on it so that we can see inside of it. So we're gonna make a quick stirring stick here for our food. All right, have our stirring stick now, and we can go and cook with it. That looks good. Oh yeah, ooh, steamy. All right, it is officially 6 o'clock. Dinner's ready. It's just cooling down right now a little bit so that we can eat it. After we get done eating dinner, we're gonna start bedding down for the night. Right now, there is about an hour and 45 minutes left of sunlight. So, and how you can tell is you put your hand just underneath the sun, and then you count down how many hands. 1 and almost 2. Each finger is considered 30 minutes. So right now I got 1 and 3 fingers. That means I got an hour and 45 minutes left of sunlight. So it won't be much longer, and it's going to be super dark out here. We're going to be under the stars, and everything's going to be hunky-dory, except for one small thing. Their emergency blanket is ripped from the wind because it has been extremely windy today. Being the fact that we're down in this valley, it's blocking a lot of all the excess wind that would have been hitting us otherwise. All right, blades up.
Thank you.
Can't forget about Dad. Look at that. Tell me that don't look good. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good. Nice and warm. Now, I would be lying to say that I haven't had any issues being out here with the boys. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. When you're out in the woods with your kids, you're gonna have a couple of issues. You're gonna lose your temper sometimes. The key is to try and remember that you're out here to try and have fun with them, to teach them things, and ultimately to show them how to survive in this kind of an environment. The more that you can teach your kids this kind of stuff, the more that this type of living can continue to be carried on to future generations, which is extremely important if you ask me. I want to see some honesty here. Which one of you has been harder to deal with tonight? So, being that fact, you get dishes. You have to do dishes tonight. Thank you for your honesty. That was delicious. I brushed all the coals over so that we have a little bit of a longer fire now. And this is going to help them stay a little bit warmer through the night. What you doing?
Getting dressed.
You cozy?
Yes, trying to go to sleep too.
Well, we got about 45 minutes left of sunlight. So, won't be long. So, how's y'all's day been? Y'all have fun?
Yes, definitely.
Did y'all learn anything? What about how to build a little shelter?
We could go under it too.
I mean, you wouldn't want to, because what are 2 ways that you lose body heat?
By sleeping on the ground?
Which is?
Conduction.
Very good. What's the other one by wind?
Convection.
Convection, that's right. Just wanted to point out, sorry, they learned that like 2 weeks ago and they remembered. Very good, boys. If you're on the ground, then you're going to lose a lot of body heat through conduction. We don't want that, so that's why we build ourselves up a little bit. This also helps us stay away from the wet ground if it's wet, and it helps keep us away from snakes and bugs. So being lifted up is really, really, really big. Now you're kind of protective by convection by having that, well, what is now broken, emergency blanket behind you and your sleeping bags, and you have your blankets stuffed with leaves underneath you to give you some cushion, and it also kind of helps with your convection issue. I'm going to give you guys a word to the wise. Tie your shoelaces together nice and loosely and put your shoes up on the edges of the things so that bugs and snakes are less likely to climb into them in the middle of the night. That's another free pointer for you. And in the morning, before you go just slapping them on, make sure you bang your shoes out really good just in case. Sound good?
Sounds like a great idea.
Don't forget to be drinking your water. I do have more water boiling, so we can have plenty of it later on. Word to the wise again. Use your bag, roll it up in half, and use it as a pillow. Yeah, today's been a pretty good day. They have learned a good little bit today. They learn a little bit of something every time that we go out, and that's the point. The whole reason that I want to take them out whenever we go to do this kind of like bushcraft style camping. I think it's really, really important for all kids to learn this, but especially mine. The more you take them out, the more this information becomes second nature to them. And if anything happens, if the ass hits the fan, you know that they're going to be ready just as much as you are to get out and find their way to safety. Remember that. Well, they're getting ready, getting all warm and bundled up. I should probably go and do the same. For those of you unacquainted, these are courtesy of the U.S. Army. Yeah, I didn't turn them in. I don't know if we were supposed to turn them in, honestly. A little too late to do that if it is the right thing, though. I'm not complaining. Extra pair of wool socks, always a must. A bolly, always a must. Fleece beanie? Yeah. But the fleece bolly, definitely, because you can cover your face and be nice and snug like a bug in a rug. Put my shirt back on over my cold weather gear. The boys are all but settled in. The sun has finally completely went down over the trees. I'm gonna have one last cup of tea for the night, and then I'm gonna pack in for the night as well. Gonna have myself a little bit of Earl Grey for the night. Earl Grey tea. Beautiful. And delicious. Did a little bit of work today, cutting down some trees and busting up some firewood. Fortunately, I had the boys with me to kind of help share the load a little bit. I had to do 2 shelters today as opposed to just 1. And that takes a little bit out of somebody. So even though I did get a lot of help from the boys when it came to collecting firewood or washing the dishes or whatever the case was, it all comes with at least a little bit of give and take. Now, I'm gonna finish drinking my tea here. I'm gonna hit the sack, and I'll see you guys in the morning. All right. It is officially time for me to hit the sack now. All I'm gonna do, take my boots off, and I'm gonna run the string around the main line up there and then back over themselves right here through my loop. That way they'll hang above me and it keeps them up off the ground. All right, guys, I'll see you in the morning. It is officially 5 o'clock in the morning, and our fire has shrunk down. Got a little bit of wood still left over there. Doesn't really matter how much wood we got left because we're fixing to pack up. Got a nice little hike ahead of us to get us out of these woods. And Jinx is going to be picking us up way up off this little area here. We're going to get packed up out here, and then I will see you guys once we get back to the house. All right, so the Jinx has picked us up. She got all of us some honey buns, got them some hot cocoa, got me some hot coffee. We're on our way home. Before we left out, though, we had to make sure that we picked up everything that we had brought out, making sure that we picked up any kind of trash. Area beautification is really, really big for me. Trying to leave it as beautiful as you found it is really, really important. So, yeah, do that.